Welcome, you've returned to a place of softness and silence, where the ancient desert winds whisper beneath starlit skies, and the stories of those once forgotten rise gently into view. Tonight, we enter the wilderness, but not alone. Tonight, we follow a woman who was cast out, yet never abandoned. A woman whose name means flight, but whose eyes were open to see the divine. Her name is Hagar. She was not a queen, not a prophet, not a priestess. She was a maidservant, a foreigner in a foreign land. And yet she was the first person in Scripture to name God, and the first to be addressed by an angel. We begin not with drama or despair, but with her daily life, a rhythm of service, a pattern of quiet endurance. Let your breath slow, let your body rest, and let Hagar's story unfold. Like desert winds across the sand, break time equals 2 south greater than Segment 1, Daily Life in Abraham's Household. Imagine waking each morning to the low sounds of livestock shifting in their pens, to the muted thud of footsteps on sand, and the crackle of embers being stirred back to life. You are in the tents of Abram, a patriarch, a nomad, a man with many flocks and many servants. Hagar was one of them. She was not born among them, most likely. She came from Egypt, given as part of the wealth Abram received during his time there. We do not know her family. We do not know if she wept when she was taken, but we do know this: she adapted. Each day, Hagar would have carried water from the well, her steps steady, practiced, the clay jug balanced on her shoulder. She would have ground grain by hand, kneeling beside the other women, hands dusty, arms strong. The tents were made of goat hair, woven tightly to keep out the desert wind. Inside, life was quiet but never still. Cooking fires were lit early, flatbread pressed and flipped. Lentils simmered with onions and herbs. The work was shared, but the hierarchy was clearer. At the center stood Sarai, Abram's wife, and beside her, quiet and watchful, stood Hagar. She did not speak unless spoken to. She moved when told. She served in silence, and yet she saw everything. She saw the longing in Sarai's face as the years passed without a child. She saw the prayers, the frustration, the searching of the stars. And she likely heard the murmurs of promises given to Abram of a God who spoke of descendants as numerous as the sand. But none of that belonged to Hagar. She was present, but never invited. Still she endured. Her hands shaped the bread. Her arms hauled the water. Her eyes remained lowered until the day came when everything changed. But that is a story for later. For now, she is simply a woman in a tented camp, moving through repetition, finding meaning in small tasks. And though no one noticed her, God did. Hagar's exile, the angel, and the well, the silence of the camp was different now, not the hush of sleep or mourning, but a silence laced with tension. Hagar's world had shifted, not by her choosing. When Sarah gave her to Abram, it was not affection. It was function, a surrogate womb, a vessel for what Sarai had not yet received. And when Hagar conceived, a new weight settled between them. What began in obedience became offense. Sarai's pain grew sharper. Hagar's presence became unbearable, a reminder, a mirror. The scriptures say that Hagar despised her mistress, but perhaps It was simply the quiet rebellion of self-awareness. The moment a servant realizes she too carries life, it was enough to cause a fracture. Sarai dealt harshly with her, and Hagar fled. Break time equals 2 south, greater than. Now imagine her feet pounding the desert sand, pregnant, alone, wains lifting her hair, staining her face. She did not head for a new home. She returned to what she knew, Egypt, but she would not make it there. Near Shur, she collapsed beside a spring, a quiet pool of water tucked in the wilderness, and there, something divine occurred. The angel of the Lord found her. Not Abram, not Sarai, not the elders, the kings, the priests, her, a servant, a runaway, a woman. Hagar, servant of Sarai, the voice said. Where have you come from, and where are you going? A question not just of geography, but of identity, of belonging. She answered simply, I am fleeing from my mistress. And the angel, gentle but firm, spoke a truth that was hard and holy. Return, submit. You will bear a son, and you shall call him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard your affliction. Break time equals 3 south, greater than the word settled in her like a slow rain. You are seen, you are heard. She, who had moved in the background, now stood face to face with the divine. And in that moment, she did something extraordinary. She gave God a name. El Roi, she said, the God who sees me. In a world where women were rarely named, she named the divine. The spring became known as Bir Lahai Aroi, the well of the living one who sees me. And there, in that still place, Hagar's story shifted. She was no longer just a maid. She was a witness, a mother, a mystic marked by encounter. She rose from the well, not yet free, but forever changed. And as she walked back toward the camp, toward Sarai, toward tension and toil, she carried within her a quiet knowing that even in exile, she was not forgotten. The God who sees, angelic messengers, Ishmael's destiny, there is something sacred about being seen, not noticed, not watched, but truly seen, recognized, known. Hagar gave voice to that mystery. El Aro, she whispered, the God who sees me. It was not just a poetic phrase, it was a revelation. She had not sought a vision. She had not climbed a mountain or prepared a sacrifice. And yet, an angel appeared. This divine visitation was quiet, not fire, not thunder, but a conversation at a spring. Throughout Scripture, angelic messengers appear in many ways, some with blazing swords, some in blinding brilliance, but to Hagar, the angel came gently. It was the first time in the Hebrew Scriptures that an angel speaks directly to a woman, and not just any woman. A pregnant Egyptian servant, a refugee, a runaway, and that moment changed history. Break time equals 3 south, greater than the angel spoke of her child. His name Ishmael means God hears. A mirror of her own experience. You shall have a son, the angel said, and he shall be a wild donkey of a man, not an insult, but an image of untamed freedom. He would live free, his hand against others, and others against him, but never bound. This prophecy has puzzled many, but for Hagar, it meant survival, legacy, a future. She was no longer nameless, no longer voiceless. Her story had meaning, and her well Bir Lahi Aroi became a sacred marker of divine intimacy. It would appear again later in scripture as a dwelling place of Isaac, the other son. The mystery deepens when we consider this. Hagar encountered the divine alone, no interpreter, no priest, just her and a presence that spoke directly. This is a theme throughout mystical texts, divine revelation, given to the least expected, in the wilderness, in exile, by a spring. Her son Ishmael would grow to be a great nation. Many traditions trace his lineage to the Arab people, and through him, an entire legacy unfolds, but it all began with a moment under a tree beside a spring and a God who saw her. That is the heart of this mystery. Not just that Hagar survived, but that she was seen, and in being seen, she saw. In a world of veils and hierarchies, Hagar broke through. She left no long speeches, no psalms, no palace, just a well, a name, and a promise. Sarah's status, Hagar's marginalization, and motherhood and shadow. Contrast often reveals what clarity alone cannot. To truly understand Hagar, we must glimpse her life through the lens of comparison. Side by side, Sarah and Hagar, one a matriarch, the other a maid. Sarah, once Sarai, was the wife of Abraham, privileged by position, yet pained by barrenness. She moved in tents of authority. Her name carried weight. Her words set events into motion. And Hagar existed in her shadow, a silhouette behind the veil. Though younger, though strong, she was never the one with the voice. Her body became an answer to someone else's longing. Her womb, a vessel for another's legacy. Imagine the quiet ache of that dynamic. Sarah, watching Hagar's belly swell with the life she herself had not conceived. Hagar, watching Sarah's gaze grow colder, the tension thick as morning dust. And yet, neither woman was whole. Sarah had status, but not the promise, not yet. Hagar had the child, but no protection, no say. They were bound by gender, divided by power. Break time equals 3 south, greater than motherhood 2, revealed the rift. Sarah would eventually birth Isaac, the son of the covenant, the child of laughter, but Hagar's son Ishmael came first. In a world where lineage shaped destiny, this created tension not easily resolved. Sarah, though older, would claim her role as matriarch, and Hagar would be cast out again, this time with her son, wandering into the wilderness once more, carrying not just water, but despair. When their provisions ran out, Hagar placed Ishmael beneath a shrub and walked a distance away, not wishing to watch him die. And yet, once again, an angel came. God heard the cry of the boy and called to Hagar from heaven, "Lift the boy, hold him fast, for I will make him a great nation." And there her eyes were opened. She saw a well. She rose. She gave the boy water. Break time equals 3 south, greater than. This contrast is quiet, but profound. Sarah, the woman of promise, waited decades for joy. Hagar, the woman of exile, met God in her suffering. Both were seen, both were heard. But only Hagar named the divine, and perhaps that is the thread that binds their stories. Not competition, not hierarchy, but encounter. In the shadows of Sarah's tent, Hagar found strength. In the margins of the story, she carved her name. And in the face of despair, she received a future. So now, as the night deepens around you, and the story settles into silence, you may find yourself still thinking of her, Hagar, the woman beneath the tree, not a queen, not a prophet, not even a name held high in the scrolls of power, but she was seen. And she saw, in the cool hush of the wilderness and the rustle of desert leaves and the stillness of abandonment, a whisper of the divine reached her, and that whisper became a well, a place of survival, a place of memory. The God who sees saw her, and if he could see her, a runaway, a servant, a woman in the margins, then perhaps he sees you too. Wherever you are, restless or weary, hidden or hopeful, you are not unseen. Let the story of Hagar remind you there is sacredness in survival. There is divinity in desert moments. And even when no one else knows your name, heaven might be whispering it. Sleep now beneath your own tree of rest. May angels find you there, and may your dreams carry you to wells of wonder. Good night.